By the time Ibn Battuta attempted the crossing, a gold route through the Sahara was well established. A trading post on the Trans-Sahara could expect a yearly turnover of 400,000 dinar, billions by today's standards. When enterprising Muslim mariners navigated the Indian monsoon waters around India, the merchants that followed found China in 1346. Ibn Battuta, on his travels to China, discovered the new and amazing practice of buying and selling by paper notes. Silk, spices, gunpowder, gold, paper and print now moved on a current of money, paper money.
You had coins worth virtually nothing, which were strung together in strings of 1,000 and traded that way. Somebody finally got the idea, why not just make a paper certificate and trade that?
It would be centuries before Europe would adopt the use of paper currency. Meanwhile, a revolution in mathematics was born from the Islamic universities in Cairo, Baghdad, and Fez. Islamic scientists had perfected algebra, geometry, and the concept of the zero. They had also introduced the numerical system still in use today. Throughout his travels, Ibn Battuta testified to the wonders of the Islamic Empire. Fez captured his heart, and he settled and made it his home. The mosque, worship and prayer are all elements of a past empire, which has been preserved. Fridays are known as Jummah, a day of communal prayer. For 1400 years, the Islamic community upheld the no-trade policy during this period. Upon completion of the communal prayers, or salat, trade is enthusiastically recommended. Throughout the Islamic Empire, a harmonious relationship between commerce and religion has existed. It is this relationship that has kept commerce pure. The charging of interest, dishonesty and greed are known elements associated with money. However, the great Islamic empires stand as alternatives to this norm. An empire built on the economic principles of a religion kept an entire nation both prosperous and godly for centuries.
ضاع الإسلام يا يما باسم القانون ضاعت حقوق الإنسان الشرعية نسيوا المواجع نسيوا الأقصى المحزون هانت عليهم الأرض القدسية ضاع الإسلام يا يما باسم القانون ضاعت حقوق الإنسان الشرعية نسيوا المواجع نسيوا الأقصى المحزون هانت عليهم الأرض القدسية.
In Florence, the birthplace of the Renaissance, a whole new banking system was about to emerge. Banco is in effect an Italian word which means wooden table. And it was on these wooden tables that currency was exchanged for the illustrious golden florin, a golden coin of reputed quality. The florin merchants controlled the coin, and by the 13th century, the Islamic numerals had been adopted by Europe. Money changers became bankers, and merchants began experimenting in long-distance transactions and investments. The traveller's check first appeared in 14th century Florence. This valuable means of commerce provided a secure way of effecting international trade, as it allowed merchants to travel without carrying large quantities of gold, an obvious target for thieves and pirates.
Traveling across Western Europe at this time in the 13 and 1400s is dangerous. You have something which only you can cash. It's a piece of paper guaranteeing payment from one merchant or goldsmith to another. It's as good as gold, but nobody else can use it. It's very, very safe money.
The Medicis were a prominent and powerful banking family. Politics and money for the Medicis were inseparable. In 1433, control of the politicians fell into the hands of a rival family, which used the death of Giovanni Medici to seize political power. His eldest son, Cosmos Medici, was arrested and false accusations were made against him. his life was at risk. Through a series of bribes, he narrowly escaped death at the hands of his enemies. From this point on, he seized control of the Florentian political arena. It was said that he could rule the nation from his workshop. Though his fortune soared, Cosimo Medici always held a humble appearance, owning a mule instead of a horse. Because the Medicis were Catholic, the amassing of great wealth carried a stain in the Christian circles. Two roads to redemption lay at their feet: sponsoring great works of art and building magnificent churches. The financial favors that the Medici bestowed on presidents and popes had far-reaching consequences. Many great monuments still remain today, bearing testimony to the Medici name. For more than a century, the Italians were the power brokers in the West, whilst the Ottoman Turks guarded the trade routes to the East. However, the pursuit of gold for the Spanish would create empires almost overnight and take money to new frontiers. A merger of the old world with the new was about to take place in a marriage that would influence history forever. When Christopher Columbus set sail in the name of Christ, Spain, honor and greed, he stumbled on a magnificent and peaceful civilization of Amerindians, who had occupied this region for millions of years. His proud declaration of a new world came at a great price to the unfortunate Indians. To the people of this aptly named New World, gold had less of a financial value and more of a sacred religious one. Amerindian chiefs of the Andes in South America painted themselves with a sheen of gold as part of an elaborate religious ceremony. The chief would then dive into a lake to return the gold to the earth from which it had come. The Spanish, however, had a less symbolic depth to their gold cravens. In their campaign to conquer the region, the Spanish raped, pillaged and plundered in an insatiable and unrelenting pursuit of gold. Death followed the gold in predacious numbers. When a mountain was discovered in Porto-Sea, South America spewed out masses of silver. The Spanish started to believe that they were chosen by God to inherit wealth and power. But with this wealth came a hidden curse. Back in Spain, prices increased by 400%, and numerous small wars broke out across Europe. With this new wealth in 1588, a 150-ship armada was amassed and launched against England. The unfortunate fleet was torn in utter defeat and humiliation at the hands of a freak storm. Spanish royalty and nobility were oblivious to these events and continued to spend extravagant amounts of money on churches and art. Perhaps by investing money into churches was a way of justifying the horrific acts in which they had indulged in the pursuit of money. Within a century, the Kingdom of Spain was fading. The power was slipping into the hands of a few skillful and manipulative individuals. Individuals who would almost single-handedly control the outcome of wars and revolutions. London, England consists in reality of two cities, the financial district and the rest of the capital, including Crown Land. For nearly 1,000 years, the city and the Crown have been as separate as church and country. The Queen must even request permission to enter the 1 square mile financial enclave that makes up the city.